Well,
I didn't hear any of that.
We're
I
live.
just heard the
We're
first
live
part.
already. So,
All right.
Jonathan is forcing us to
Keep it tight.
hurry up and
No.
get our act together. So here we are. Good morning. Good morning and afternoon, everyone.
It's
How you guys
morning
doing?
somewhere. Good.
How's everybody?
Good.
I'm good, thanks. We've been having a lively conversation.
I am good. I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. We're good.
Which is it?
As
Okay
a
or all
wise
right?
man, as a wise man once said.
It's not a Mo song. You can't be both.
As a wise man once said, everything's gonna be okay, guys.
Oh man, unbelievable. Well, we're here. We're going to talk about this fish show from 1986. I just want to say, just as a coda to the last conversation, I've been leaving cereal and cereal bowls out for my kids since the beginning of the pandemic, since early 2020. So you can do it,
How
Brian.
old was
their own
Maya
milk?
at that point? Was she like 7?
Yeah.
Okay, so this
This
is
is it.
the right motivation
This
I
is it.
need because
This
Wallace
weekend.
is 7. He
Mhm.
needs to
Make it
start
happen.
doing this.
This
If
is
you're
when it's
watching
happening.
this at school, Wallace, first and foremost, Mr. Smith, please turn off a fish podcast. My son is in school right now and should be learning. But if you're watching this for some reason, he sometimes YouTubes me and watches these. You are going to be making your own cereal this weekend.
I
Yeah.
gotta say, this is educational stuff, and I say stuff only because your kid might be watching, and you probably shouldn't hear me say shit. But
He
this
just
is
heard you say
educational.
shit.
Oh well,
Just wait till he YouTubes this.
I blew it.
Oh, God.
Should we press it like do we have one of those things where we can
Yeah,
bleep?
bleepers. Is that
the
what it's called?
delay. Just put it on my feed only.
Yeah.
My kids,
Brian, you
they learned it all from me.
Brian, you can use a travel mug with like a little, like where you drink out of. Use that little hole to pour the milk out of. That's what we do.
This is you just
Yeah, that way they don't have to
That's
full
next
of
level,
ideas.
deal with the big
RJ.
jug.
Yeah,
Smart.
yeah. Every day. All right.
Was this
so
your
Stuff like
idea,
that.
Rachel's? This is what I want to know.
it was my idea. It was my idea.
right, good
I'm just
job.
telling you.
So smart.
Also, for those of you who are watching live, thanks for tuning in. For those of you who listen to this tomorrow on January 31st, you should wish Brad a happy birthday because tomorrow's Brad's birthday. So everybody say happy birthday to Brad tomorrow.
Birthday, Bradley.
Happy
we're-
birthday,
we're-
Brad.
Bradley.
We're so
So
happy to have him on.
good.
Birthday.
So good to have him on last week.
Oh, it was.
That
And
was
can I
fun.
just say one more thing, guys? I have the fine people at Section 119 sent me this new sweatshirt that I'm wearing, and it's the warmest zip up hoodie that I've ever owned. It's almost too warm. Like I wore a t-shirt underneath, even though it's really cold out here in my office. This is like, it's lined. It's got some, I don't even know what's going on, but check it out because it's very warm. That's all.
I
want to
love
add on to
mine.
that too. You want one too, Jonathan?
No, I have one. I have one with the bolt on it, and I absolutely love it. And it's warm and cozy. I wear it a lot.
Well, I just got some sweatpants, but I don't really know how to like wear those and show them on the pod. I feel like that'd be kind of weird. So maybe I'll
Yeah,
send a
fair.
picture or something. But yeah, they're amazing. And they say Scarlet Fire on them. They're really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
you'd
they're
have
really
to-
well made. Mhm.
You'd have to
It'd be
stand on your
weird.
desk. or
I'd have to
something.
like stand up. It'd be, yeah. I don't know. If anybody can think of a way I can do it, I'll do it. But it seems weird.
Okay, great. Brian, have you been listening to the Gorge release? The Fish 1998
I have.
Gorge
I
release?
listened to it all on Friday and Saturday morning.
What do you guys think of it? What do you all think of it?
I'm mad that it wasn't on Live Fish like forever ago. So there, that's where I stand.
I
Been out on
share
CD
in-
since last fall or whatever.
I share in Jonathan's. I don't know if I'm angry as much as I am just
Ire. You
frustrated
have
and
ire,
annoyed.
right?
It's just like, why'd you get it? Come on. Like, I get it. Trying to
Quit sticking
sell
around.
physical copies. But like, I don't know, man. Did we really need to wait 2 months for it to be released? It sounds really good. It's really well mixed. The only negative I'm going to say, which is my responsibility, is to
Uh-oh.
say negative things. The
Uh-oh.
only problem with a soundboard Gorge release is that you lose the kind of atmospheric, ethereal nature of hearing George show with all of the ambiance on a audience recording. It has the same effect as friend of the pod, Craig Hillwig, taped a lot of the Island Tour shows that every one of us listened to before they officially released it. And the room, it just sounds amazing. Like when they get into those like melodic ambient jams, it just sounds brilliant. And you lose a little bit of that about that on the soundboard. Again, I don't want to complain because it sounds beautiful. And Trey's guitar tone, 98 Trey guitar tone is amazing. But you lose that. It's a strange thing.
I have seen a number of comments from reliable folks who were disappointed in the compression on the cymbals and other elements of this recording. But because I did not buy the CDs, I have not heard an uncompressed version of it, so I cannot speak to it myself. But I trust those people and their ears.
Wow.
None of them complained about Trey's guitar tone, though. But
That's right.
I'll say that.
Wow.
But you know, the new LP on LP, Radio City Ghost, that sounds amazing, absolutely stunning.
And that is an example of something that is that much better. That much better because of the soundboard release. There are things that you hear going on in that jam that you just simply don't get in the audience recording.
Subtleties of Mike and Paige on the record. Oh, so good.
Everything happening below the surface. This is a good plug as well for Osiris Premium, where we will be talking after we record this about our LP on LP wishes, which is, we all were supposed to bring one. And I thought I was being excessive by bringing 5, only to find out that Jonathan brought between like 6 and 9, and RJ has 8.
4 and 6.
And Megan just went show by show and just started making a spreadsheet about reasons why, and it blew us all away.
Yeah, right.
Well, thank you for asking. I think the Gorge release is I think it's like the best mix of a remastered Live Fish release that I've heard in a long time. It's really, really, I mean, I don't know. Compression of cymbals is not something that I even know how to judge. So maybe I'm not the right person to talk about this, but I think it's really great. That's all. All right.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I thought I was. Who knew that I would be the person saying how great it was? But here we are.
I think it's a good opportunity now that you've brought up quality audio recordings that have turned into soundboard official releases. It's a good opportunity to plug a demand that I've long had that Kevin Shapiro released 7/25, 1999. We just need to hear that show. So that's my demand. We need to hear that in soundboard quality. Don't I mean me. Yes, of course. But 7/25/99 easy. Just drop it on the drop it on the app and you'll get some more subscribers. It's great. Plus I'll be happy and I'll stop asking for it.
And then you'll ask for things like the Great Went and Big Cypress, like a reasonable person would. Oh, and this year is the opportunity to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Lemon Wheel with a summer drop of the Lemon Wheel boxed set. I'm looking forward to that.
Lemon Wheel is sort of a really overlooked thing that happened.
It was amazing. Yes.
People don't talk about it that much. But what we do talk about is the 40 for 40 that we're doing. And we're moving on to 1986. I think, some Fish fans claim that they don't listen to 80s Fish. I think most don't. But I think I'd say 95% of fans don't listen to 80s Fish. I think there's more people who say they do for street cred. But I don't believe them because I think it's hard to go back to these shows. But after listening to this show, I kind of want to listen to more 80s Fish, even though I've listened to a lot. This show made me want to go back and listen to more. That's my opening statement on this show. I don't know where to start, but I just wanted to say that.
Well, I will follow that and say that this is a great example of what they should go and find. I think that probably many Fish fans do a drive-by on the 80s at some point in their listening. And they'll like dip into like 89 and think they've done it. They'll go to listen to the Scarlet Fire and think that's what they need to know about 85 or whatever. And then they go right back to whatever era is their favorite. But yeah, this is kind of it's a really strong show. It's got kind of everything for this time period.
Yeah, I think about this show in accordance to the show that came 2 weeks before it, 10/15/86, where this show has a lot of second versions of songs that were played for the first time on 10/15, and they feel kind of like a pair, as a lot of shows around this era did. I agree with both of you guys are saying, in the sense that this is a standout 1980s Fish show that if you want to go back, we talked last week a lot about the idea of the bridge from 85 to 86. I have a ton of notes about how much has like come together, but still how much is like needs to come together for Fish to really become Fish. But this sounds like a very different band from 10/30/85. This sounds like a band that is spending a lot of time writing, a lot of time rehearsing. They're starting to come up with hijinks and inside jokes that are literally going to last for the next 37 years. And they're still, coming to fruition now. I didn't listen to a lot of 80s Fish until we did Undermine season 1. And I listened to a lot of it over like a 3 or 4 month period in time. I found it endearing, and I found a ton of gems and highlights that I'm really excited to talk about over the next couple of episodes as we explore the late 80s, where, Fish continues to become who they're going to be. What are your thoughts, Meg? Is this kind of your first time dipping into the 80s, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd listen to a little bit of it, but only like if someone had a tape, and I was somewhere and I would hear it and I'd be like, oh, that's cool, but never in like a really in-depth way like I am now. And it's awesome. I mean, I think the one thing that stood out to me about this year that's interesting is that they've played less shows this year, just a few less, but we know there's 24 shows at least, which kind of surprised me that they weren't kind of ramping up. But it's so much based on like the school year. You can see they're just still a college band, which is pretty cool. And I love like learning about what's been going on with the band during this time period. That's what's been the most fun for me in this project so far, is just like reading and really thinking about like what was going on with them and what was impacting them. And a lot has happened since 1985 for them. Trey brings You and Dre Myself, and it just pushes Holdsworth over the edge. And he's like, I'm out. So he leaves in March and graduates, leave town, finds God, the whole thing. And then Trey and Fish join Goddard. Paige makes money off it, which is pretty funny. And then Trey starts studying composition with Ernie Stiers, which is like so impactful and going to be so important to him moving forward. And it's cool because this fall, like right after the show, is kind of the beginning of when they establish this residency at Nectar's. So they're starting to play really well-attended shows at Hunt's and in the smaller room at Nectar's. And from like 86 of November until like March 89, they're playing sort of a residency at Nectar's, which is incredible. They're playing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, either some combination of those nights, and playing from like 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. And it becomes like this laboratory for them, which is so incredible. And, they played at the front more, like 53 times, and Nectar's at 47, but Nectar's is really kind of the place where they get to explore and be free. And just hearing them talk about that and how incredible that was for them, it's exciting. And you think about this time period for them, 32 debuts this year. Incredible songs are debuted this year.
Wow.
Like Bowie, Lushington, Golgi, Wilson, Haley's Comet, AC/DC Bag, Iculus, and Yem. I mean, those are monster songs, right? Like they're going to be setting the kind of ground floor for what Fish is going to be. And then they released the white tape this year too. Pretty cool. Big year.
Yeah, I want to shout out my friend K-Pow in the chat, who notes in response to the exhortations to listen to 80s Fish that he's just going to let us do it. All right, fine. We'll take the hit for you. We'll do that.
You're missing out, Kevin. It's good. It's good stuff.
Man, it's good stuff.
So, okay. Go ahead, Brian.
I just want to, first and foremost, that was an amazing breakdown, Megan. Thank you for coming that prepared with where exactly Fish was at. I have a kind of question that just came to my mind as you were talking about all that. Do you think that 1986 was the year that like Mike and Paige were kind of like, this Trey guy's a little intense? Like he keeps bringing these songs, and
Yeah.
keep bringing these ideas. Like how many times in 1986 do you think Trey was like, "We should do a tour"? And
You
they were
guys,
kind
you
of
guys, you guys. Here's an idea.
like I
I feel
imagine
like
it's
Trey's a you guys kind of guy. I haven't.
yeah. It was like
Yeah,
a weekly thing where they were like, "Yeah, that was a good show," and he was like, and like he was walking off stage just like scribbling down notes, like, "Nope, here's how we can do it better. We're going to band practice right now." And they were like, "But like I was going to like the sock
It's
hop
2 a.m.
after this."
the sock off. No,
I don't
I
know
think
what
they're
you.
probably like,
I don't
this
know if
dude's
people did in
weird,
the
but
80s,
I'm into it.
the
I'm into
80s, the
it.
50s. It's basically the same period, right?
Yeah, it is.
But you know,
Totally.
like I just imagine like they walked off stage and Trey was like, "We're thinking about the next show right now," and they're like, "But the next show is not for like 15 days," and he was like, "No, drop everything."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's all true.
Fairly accurate.
I think it's all accurate.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, what do we need to know about 1986? It's still the 80s as far as we know.
Ryan's got a lot
Oh.
of notes on this. I'm going to jump in
Okay.
with one tiny note. So 1986 is 37 years ago, which is
What?
the same. 37 years ago. That's not the note
That's
though.
crazy.
That means if you look at where Fish is, Brian mentioned sock hops and whatnot, when they're walking off the stage, 37 years prior to that was 1949. 1949.
Whoa, that's
right.
crazy.
So just try and realize how long ago that was. And for Brian's sake, try and realize how old that makes me. Okay. Let's go.
Stop that shit, Jonathan, because I'm just like I have like proximity with you. I don't like that. Like we're just gonna talk about how young
You're
we
not
are
as
all the
old as
time.
me. It's fine. So don't worry about it.
So 1986, where this is October 31st, my brother is 2 weeks old at this point in time. It's really, really crazy. 2 weeks old.
Aw.
I am eating solid foods by this point.
Oh, good for
We're just
you,
gonna
Brian.
track in
Yeah.
through my life at this point. The New York Mets have just beaten the Boston Red Sox in one of the greatest World Series of all time. The Boston Celtics have won their 16th championship at this point. We're getting set for the 1986 midterms. Iran-Contra is starting to heat up. We are also in 1986, specifically at this point in time. So October 31st, what this date falls on. Cyndi Lauper's True Colors is the
Yes.
number one song in America. Does anyone have like specific memories of that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that song.
Oh,
It was
yes.
huge.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to remember in 1986, on this night in 1986, I don't remember who or what I would have dressed up as
I
for
know.
Halloween. I would have been 12. So I definitely went trick or treating. And yeah, K-Pow's first Dead show was that year. Good for him. God damn. See,
That's amazing.
he's old.
Megan, what did you go as
Say
for
that.
Halloween that year?
Punky Brewster.
Nice.
I looked exactly like Punky Brewster.
I can
Do
believe
you have a
it.
picture of
Exactly.
you as Punky
Mhm.
Brewster?
Yeah, I do.
I think we're gonna
I
need
had
this.
like bandanas tied on my thighs and like, yeah, I was really into Punky Brewster. I think I had a Pepsi shirt on too. I was her 2 years in a row. It just looked so good. It was just so good. I was like, I'm going to do this again. This is a good look for me. It's like when I go to shows now, I just wear the same outfit, just like different versions. That was like me on Halloween too. When you got something that works, you just like go with it.
Yeah. Roll with it.
Yeah. How about you, RJ?
Where
Do you
is
remember what
Punky
you were
Brewster
on?
today?
I can't remember.
Soleil Moonfry? She's around.
Shouldn't she just do like a what everybody's doing, where you play your childhood character as an adult or something? They just
I
do a
think it
show.
wasn't like the Punky Brewster show, but she was on something, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I was 7 here, and I don't know. I wonder what I was for Halloween. Maybe that was the year I was Michael Jackson with like an actual coat and a glove, but maybe not.
That's
Were you
so
bad?
amazing.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
might have
walk
been.
around with a Pepsi
but I
can
don't
and your
remember.
hair on fire.
That's
Probably.
amazing.
That tasteless.
That would be
Yeah.
weird.
Fire.
Good costume.
So, okay. Well,
I also
one thing
remember
I'm going
from
to
this
do.
year, I just want to say, RJ, this is the year of the Challenger explosion. And I have a very, very strong memory of this because my third grade teacher, she applied to be in that program. And she was like a finalist. And so she was super invested in it and she didn't get picked. And so she brought us all out and we stood around one of those TVs on rolling carts and watched the Challenger lift off and watched
Jesus.
it explode. Yeah. And it's one of my strongest memories from my childhood because she was devastated and she just was sobbing. And I remember my third grade teacher was like my favorite human being. And it was just so sad to see this happen. And it was just really impactful. So that was a big deal. Yeah. Krista McAuliffe.
So I know Brian has listened to this podcast, but there's a podcast from Slate called 1 Year. And the third season, which they did last summer, was about 1986. And there was 7 episodes about different things that happened. And there's an episode called The Ultimate Field Trip. That's about like the competition between all the educators who tried to get on the Challenger. And they interviewed a bunch of people who were finalists. And
no way.
like, yeah, it's a really amazing, actually the whole season, all the episodes are great, but that one is worth listening to, especially because you have a connection to it. But
I'm gonna do that. That's amazing.
That was a really great podcast season. They also had to do one episode on, do you remember when Geraldo like went into Al Capone's like vault in the hotel and tried to like blow it up and open it? That's an episode. There's an episode about a guy who like from New York who was like kind of in like he showed up in a Soviet propaganda film and he was just like this guy from New York and like everyone hated him and no one really knew like how he ended up in this like Russian. There's some really cool stories. So anyway, that's a Slate podcast called 1 Year, but you should check out that episode, Megan, because you'd like that.
I will. Yeah.
I also just want to say I'm reading Questlove's book, Music is History, and he does a chapter on every year. And now I'm at the point where Fish exists in the book. Like I'm in the 80s now. So next week I'm going to bring the 1987 anecdote from Questlove to this. That's that's what I'm gonna do.
Yes, please.
But this was a double bill. The Joneses and Fish on a Friday night.
Yeah.
This was pretty sweet.
Oh, have you the
poster's
poster?
Pretty cool. The poster's pretty cool.
Is cool. Yeah, it has
great.
it has like a Boy Scouts like come prepared. It looks pretty cool.
It's got kind of a classic Bay Area psychedelia vibe to it. You know, like something that might be up on a pole on Haight Street. Michael Myers is here for our Halloween episode. That's appropriate. Hi, Michael. Hello, all, he says in the chat. You guys all made that connection, right?
Yeah, that was good. No, I didn't. Really great job.
Yeah.
So should we dive into the set list?
Let's talk about this music.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
Right off the bat.
I have a question right off the bat.
Why the hell must every young band cover Mustang Sally?
I don't know.
Well, why?
They just want to say right around Sally. I don't know.
Yeah. Why did this band choose to play it so fast? Because it's really too fast.
They played a lot of things very fast, to be frank. Although there's a notably slow performance here. I don't know. They played it 8 times between 10-15-86 and 8-5-88, and then not again until Bonnaroo 09 with Bruce Springsteen.
I think that's why you do it, is so you're prepared for that Bonnaroo.
That's it.
Or whatever wedding may arise.
Yeah.
They've somehow played it less than Goose did. Goose played it 13 times. Last time played January 26, 2021, which we hope never happens again for their own development as well as
it's a great song.
Is it really? Is it really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's a fun
really?
song. What, you don't,
Can you convince me that this is a good song? No, I don't like it.
Did we spend our time better maybe in another something else?
I mean,
I'm just curious what makes it a good song now.
Well, how about this? Fish played it with Bruce. So there.
Yeah, that
Bruce
that
did,
doesn't
Bruce
sell
had him take
to
it
me,
down.
frankly.
Bruce had him take it down.
Right, he was embarrassed.
He
Bruce
did.
didn't like it. He didn't like it. That's not even on Live Fish anymore.
That wasn't even Bruce. Bruce had no idea. All right. Anyway,
Camel Walk
What
comes
else?
next. Camel Walk has some very choice lyrics that inspired
Unbelievable.
dancing.
why do you think
Oh,
so many
surely.
bands played Mustang Sally? Because it's a fucking good song. If it was a horrible
How?
song,
What
no
is a
one
good
would
song?
pick
What
it.
is good about it? It's got a
It's got, well, I'll tell you why it's a good song, because it's fun and it's like it's not very hard to play.
That's why they
And-
play it.
That's the catch.
Right?
And people know it. It's a
It's a bar
beer
song.
and lifestyle song.
Well,
It's-
also, how about
it's-
this?
it's 3 p.m. at the local county fair with like 6 people in front of the stage, and the band starts playing Mustang Sally.
You're gonna
And
drop your turkey leg and run right
a
over.
couple more people stand up and have their hands up like this with a beer in hand. It's just, and like kind of shimmy around. Just
Wait,
Well-
how did that go, Brian? Can you show us that dance again?
it'll be on YouTube later.
Okay, good. I'm gonna clip it out.
All right, you know what? Well, all right.
Well,
Never mind.
let's talk about this Camel Walk. Yeah, so alternate lyrics, if you will, some riffing. It's cool. They kept it around. It's fun. I like the little breakdown. They do the breakdown.
What's fun
quite
about
well.
it, Jonathan?
Fucking
What's
fun,
about it? What makes
RJ.
this song fun?
All right, Wilson.
Can't convince
I think
me
the song
this
is really fun. I mean, you
This
didn't
is a song
really
that is fun. It's about going down to the disco. That's super
Yeah.
fun. The
see
disco is
see
fucking
someone
fun.
with reasons and points and argumentative
Yeah.
analysis. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's got a stop start at the end. Like they're doing some stop start jamming. It's good. It's a camel
I kind of feel like the
I
band.
just like the riffs through the breakdown. It's groovy.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
I kind of feel like the
And
band
my
still
third grade
thinks of this
class
song
loves
as a
this song.
joke.
Yeah.
It's a good
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a little weird.
Well, they
but-
should.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little
Well,
weird.
this song was played 19 times through the 80s, and then there's the 758 show gap until 7/2/95. It kind of feels like at this point that they're just like playing it because we had this guy in the band who wrote this song. It's got a fun groove, and we're just going to like sing over the top of the lyrics in a joking manner. And I really love it as a second song of a show. It just like, even now, like when they start playing that early in the show, it just kind of sets the tone.
I
Yeah,
think
you
it's
just strut your stuff.
I think they're really
Strut.
playing it for the breakdown at this point because that's interesting music, and I think they really play it well. And so yeah, that's what I got on that song.
Yeah, this is probably the second time they played it, according to the records that we have, anyway, without Jeff. So they're probably just trying to figure out how to work it in. But yeah, it's fun. It's a good song. It's a good show so far. Both songs are good so far, and they continue with
50-50 is a
third-
decent batting average. So
Mhm.
the third.
Would you
the
prefer
third
that they
ever-
still? Do you
just
prefer that
keep
they
going?
still played Mustang Sally,
Yeah,
Or
I
that
can't wait till
they
they bust that
played-
out. And
I
everybody's, like,
think they're gonna
so
have
happy.
played in Mexico now.
or
I
that
think a
they
25-minute
played
Mustang Sally would have been pretty sweet, man.
or
the
that
third
they
ever.
played My Soul?
No, that song
neither.
is
How about
much less
neither?
fun than Mustang.
Thank
Sally.
you. Neither,
Neither.
is the only
Neither.
correct answer.
So
So okay, well,
we're
Jonathan,
never getting
go
there.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, Golgi. It's I don't know, when did Golgi first premiere?
It's the third
I'm a
time.
Two
little-
weeks
This is the third
earlier.
time playing.
Yeah, so they're it's well formed though. I think it's a strong version
Yeah.
and a good time, and it lands us right into Slave. And how could you go wrong with that? Do they
Yeah.
go wrong with
I
that?
mean,
Jonathan,
Golgi
that's
was
so
clear as-
funny, 'cause I literally said fully formed in my notes for Golgi. It sounds like Golgi. It's like it's exciting. It's really energetic. It's good. And then like a perfect.
only- The only difference is that it doesn't like come in with that bang. It comes in like as this
Yeah.
like groove, which is
That's
really
true.
interesting.
Yeah.
I also like how Trey is repeating something to the audience that many young Fish fans will come to learn, that the song is not called "I Saw You with a Ticket Stub in Your Hand." It's actually called "Golgi Apparatus." And then he gives a shout out to all of our science friends out there.
yeah.
Both of them.
He calls them shout out to our science pals in the audience. Everyone has one.
Is that what he says?
It's like the only thing. It's the only kind of stage
Amazing.
banter that would happen at a Fish show.
It's a good song. This is like
Yeah.
clearly represents the direction he was going in with
Oh, yeah.
compositions, which is
Yeah.
just fun. And the segue into Slave is great, really fun.
nice.
Nice, like it's like a 4-minute Slave or something, but it's fun. It's fun to hear.
Well, it's interesting to hear them go right to the peak rather than sustain that build, which is something like I wrote down just as I was listening to this, the same way that I felt with Hood and Bowie later in the show. Like, who knows what the next 10 years are going to hold for this song? Like, they're playing this song that over the next decade and a half, even today, like Slaves haven't been outstanding, but they are this like cathartic, really emotional experience when they're played nowadays, even. And it's just one of those songs that they're just kind of throwing into the middle of the first set, not knowing where it's going to go for their career. It's such a cool moment.
Yeah, I love thinking about that. These like epic songs that they don't know that they're epic yet. You know? It's really
Right.
cool.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
They're just kind
Yeah.
of played in front of a bar. It's crazy.
I love
So
it.
did you guys watch the set list, read the set list extensively before you listen to this? Because I didn't. I pulled it up, I pulled up this show and I just hit play and then I changed screens and I just let it play as I listened and did other things as I do with my time. And so after Slave, you hear them talk about Fuck Your Face. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, is there Fuck Your Face on this show? No, there is not.
No,
No.
There is not.
Nope.
But for a moment, I was very excited. And then they started playing Melt the Guns. And I was, again, very excited.
No,
Because
can
it's
you
pretty
believe this
cool.
song has only been played 4 times? That's just so crazy.
It's a cover,
it needs to come back.
but it does need to come
Everybody
back.
wants it to come back, though.
back.
It is a
Fish, I
cover
guess.
that I think many of us would love to see it come back. It doesn't seem
Yes.
like it's incredibly hard. It's challenging. It's got a weird vocal range and you've got the kind of like breakdown and stuff. But can
They
you
might have to
imagine?
rehearse it, but yeah,
They would,
it'd
which
be
is
awesome.
probably the deal breaker. Could you imagine them jamming this song? Like, it's
Oh.
got such a
I
groove to it.
know.
And the segue into Sally, we talked about this
so
yesterday or
good.
last week.
Smooth.
103085 had a Sally. One of my notes was they already sound tighter and bigger, even though this is only the third version of Sally since 103085. So it's not as though they've been playing this song like night after night after night, show after show. Like it's been there. It's in the rotation. They're probably practicing it back at home, but like, I don't know, this whole segment here, the first opening from Mustang Sally through Sneakin' Sally, the Sally bookend, I just realized. It's very tight and very connected Fish in a manner that sounds like they know how to just immediately capture a room, which is just a unique thing for a young band to do.
Yeah. it's
So I'm
really
calling it
energetic
here.
version.
Mexico double Sally, just for you guys.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm certainly not going to be
With a
sad
lay
about
down
it.
Sally encore for all those who snuck in
No.
with fake
Ooh.
Vax cards.
You guys I was thinking about I'm gonna go back to Slave for a second. Can you guys believe that they didn't play Slave for like a
Jonathan
full?
liked that joke. Sorry,
Go
RJ.
ahead, RJ.
They didn't play Slave for a full 2 years in like the most formative period of growth that they've had, like 91 to 93. It's just
You
crazy
know-
to me. It's still
You
crazy
know
to me.
why, right?
It's very weird.
You're
I don't know.
aware of the reasoning, which was, Mike
know.
explained to somebody
Tell me.
is that they thought it sounded too much like a Grateful Dead song.
I did not know that. He said that.
I don't really take that. That's not when they've been played.
Wasn't that why
through
they stopped playing
1991.
Destiny Unbound?
I
Yeah,
think
oh,
they might
maybe
be
that's
thinking
the
of
one.
Destiny Unbound.
Oh,
But
really?
there was something with Slave that it sounded too much
Maybe.
like Dark Star or something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's such a fishy song. I don't know.
It
I
is
know,
a
but
strange
they were
thing
like
'cause-
91 and 92. They were like,
Yeah.
they're becoming Fish. I don't know.
When
92,
they're
it's
ironically
so
playing
interesting.
Destiny Unbound, but it was because
Because-
Slave sounded like Dark Star. That was the story. I don't remember who he told it to. but I know the
We
story.
better get him back on the
1992
phone. Find out.
I'll get him on the
1992
pod.
structurally, like you hear them figuring out where songs fit. You know, like
Yeah.
Tweezer or Mike's is going to jam in set 2. Harry Hood is going to close out set 2. Fluffhead's going to close set 1. Like there's so many structural things that are being figured out in the spring of 1992. And yet one of the things that is not being figured out is Slave to the Traffic Light should be closing every set 2 that Harry Hood is not, because it's just the perfect way to tie the bow on a show, regardless how it is. But yeah, to your point, they don't play it until, is it 8/6/93 at the Cincinnati Zoo?
Yep. That's the comeback.
And then 12/30/93, everyone yelling, "Slave, slave, slave."
It's strange.
It's amazing.
It's strange.
You know
Haley-
what's
After
also
10
strange
years, we
is-
can still find things to talk about. Sorry,
Yeah.
Megan.
I was just gonna say the other thing that's strange is when Richard Wright sings Haley's Comet, even though I know it's his song, those lyrics, it's painful.
It is.
It's painful.
Painful is the word I would use, but it is quite different.
I'd say painful, but
would
just
say
because
painful.
Haley's is a beautiful song. Thank you, Brian. It's a beautiful song, and it doesn't sound beautiful when he's singing it.
I think it's a silly song, and it sounds silly when he sings it. I think
It's got to be a
Haley's
weird
pretty
feeling
silly
to
song,
submit lyrics
but-
to a band that is
It's a pretty
going
silly
to
song.
attract 100,000 people to rural Florida in like 15 years' time, and you get a chance to sing it, and 30 years later, people are like, "Yeah, that songwriter didn't do a good job."
I know.
Back Porch Boogie
I
Blues,
gotta be
though,
honest.
You
So
did.
Jam.
I would dig that.
Such a good
This was
jam.
played 9 times. The last time play was 10/31/87, exactly 1 year to the date from here. There's a really good version I recommend to everyone out there, 5/20/87 from the Ranch, which is also available on YouTube to watch the guys play under a big colorful tent with Trey, just giant red hair hanging down, and Mike with his bass up like this. It looks so weird.
Yeah.
But highly recommend watching that show, listening to that show. It's a really good set. And the Back Porch Boogie Blues is like 9 minutes and goes into a really, really cool jam.
Yeah, this
That's
one
awesome.
is Titan rockin', and I like
Such
it
a
a
good
lot.
jam.
It's really good.
And it lands in Shaggy Dog, which I want to bring up how disappointed I am that they didn't play it in the Animals show back in Vegas.
They did.
But they did.
They did?
They did.
Which
That's
one
the
is it?
last
Oh, it's No
episode.
Dogs Allowed. Man, I'm off my game today, guys. I'm going to go get some coffee. I'll see you later.
It's okay.
There's No Dogs Allowed that we didn't play. Why did I
Yes.
forget? I was there. I don't know.
I know.
I would
I
love
blame
to
the
hear
drugs
this
that I didn't
song.
even take. Maybe I should have taken
You were
some
there and you were
drugs.
sober. You should have
That's the
taken drugs.
problem.
You'd remember then.
God damn it.
Yeah, Shaggy Dog's only been played 17 times. This was the
Yeah.
second time ever. Remember what I said at the top of the show? For everyone who was here when we took attendance, this was the second time played. There's a lot of songs that were played for the first time on 10/15/86 and then played again here
Mhm.
13 times in the 80s. And then here are the performances since the 80s. 5/6/92, 10/29/95, 6/22/12, and well, though Jonathan forgot it, 10/30/21.
It's No Dogs Allowed that I was supposed to be mad
This is
about.
one of those songs that if you get it, how could you ever forget that moment? Because it is so special that you saw Shaggy Dog.
You know, it's funny. I have a song in this show that I'm going to talk about that moment that I got it, but this isn't the one that I thought
That's not the
about
one.
when we listened to it. I thought about how I didn't remember ever seeing it. Apparently,
RJ,
But
you
this song has some of the longest gaps between performances. Pretty cool.
yeah, it's insane.
huge gaps.
Mhm.
RJ, you are a serial walker, and I imagine you're a serial walker with Grizz. Is that correct?
Yeah.
When you hear a song like Shaggy Dog, like, does it evoke the sentiment of just like having a mangy mutt next to you that
Yeah.
is just like won't leave your side? And
Yeah.
what are your
Dogs
what
are-
what thoughts evoke Shaggy Dog for you?
Well, I just think dogs are great. I just want to say that for the record. Yeah, this is a fun song, you know. I mean, there's not much to it, you know. It's just really like you said, it's just sort of walk on shaggy dog a bunch of times. I mean, there's a couple of verses, but yeah, it's not. It's dogs are great. I thank you for bringing that up, Brian. I hadn't connected that today, but now I'm excited. I'm excited to
I'm
see
just
my dog
thinking about
again.
me too. My dogs are sitting right outside the door here, and they will
My
jump
dog's
on me
been
the
like
second I
harassing me for
open it.
pets the whole entire
They're ready.
time. Yeah. She's been right here.
So we close set one with Fluffhead, and Fluffhead now has the chase inserted into it, and
Yeah.
then it goes back into Fluffhead. It's so unique to hear this version. I was totally blown away listening to this. I don't know. It just like with Fluffhead in particular, and we'll talk about with Hood and Bowie in the second set, but like with Fluffhead in particular, you just hear this song in motion and it's just like constantly being built. Like by this point in time, Yem is pretty much Yem without the jam, but like the song is the song. But Fluffhead is this idea of like the band just piecing things together. And we're going to hear over the next couple of years all the elements of Fluffhead be played by themselves and then played with Fluffhead and then played by themselves again. And ultimately you just hear a band in, you know, songwriting development, which those screws that are turning in Trey's head and in the rest of the band's head, just setting them up for kind of how they're going to approach writing music for the next 3 decades. It's wild. What did you guys think about this Fluffhead?
I like that it's coming together. It's sweet.
Yeah, it's just they're just such a better band than they were before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yeah.
they're way
agree.
better than they were a year ago, and it's crazy that they're starting to put these things together, and it's really good. It's like it all works, you know. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, I liked it too. During the jam, Trey and Fish were like the only ones that I could really hear really well, and I'd love to hear like a better version of this because I feel like it sounded great, and it's so cool to see the evolution of the song. That's like the best part of listening to all these shows in order is just hearing these songs like change and grow.
I would love if they released a show this early in the 80s. I think the earliest
wouldn't
Fish
that be
show that we have
amazing?
officially released, it would be incredible. I think the earliest Fish shows we have released are Colorado 88.
Yeah.
But to get just 2 years prior, I don't know how much they need to, you know, fix whatever recording that they have. I don't know if it's even possible. That's not my expertise. My expertise is a thesis I wrote about why bands should no longer cover Mustang Sally, but we've already been to that part of the episode. But, you know, I would just love to hear like as high quality of a version of these types of evolutionary shows. Cause this and 10-15-86, for any of you out there who are skeptical of 80s Fish, give yourself, what is 2 shows, you know, how many Fish shows do you listen to from the current year? You can add 2 more shows to that, go back to the 80s. It's really good research and homework.
I mean, the amount of debuts on 10-15-86 is pretty crazy. They bring a lot of stuff.
One of those shows.
I mean, they might not have the recordings, right?
No,
I mean someone does. They're on re-listen.
Odds are they don't have anything better than
Or I mean, better.
what
yeah,
we
like-
do.
Well, they haven't bought
Yeah.
out a lot of the old stuff, right? I think some people don't want to sell the old stuff. I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have some masters, some tapers, or folks that
It's
passed
this
along
guy.
their tapes. Yeah,
It's that
Dale
guy.
Preston. Yeah, that guy.
There's a guy.
There is a guy. But I don't know what Fish has. I know they've got some stuff. I imagine they've got something older than what they released for us, but whether they'll ever do anything with it. Well, this is the year. In
This is the
addition
year,
to
exactly.
the Lemon Wheel boxed set, they could release some 80s Fish just to, throw it back to the
Yes.
old days.
Well, they released a
you're
show
listening.
in December 2022 and January 2023. So their quota is already met because of the Gorge 98 release. See
And
what
you
they
can
did?
stop right here. The Gorge doesn't count. Doesn't count because they botched that release sequence. And Lemon Wheels do. Great Went is obviously was delayed due to manufacturing problems, but that'll be announced any minute now, and it'll be out to celebrate last year's 25th anniversary. And I don't want to hear another word to the contrary out of you, Mister.
Which Mister are you talking about?
Yeah.
The what?
At least it's not
Brian
me.
is raining on my parade.
I just want to hear whatever jam session they must have played in January or February 1998 that made Trey go, guys, we're going to book Nassau and Providence Civic Center. That's what we need to hear. Because there had to be a jam where he was like, we still got it, guys. Like they all went home. Mike got really deep into playoff football gambling. Fishman was making stews. Paige was
exactly what Mike
reorganizing
was
his
doing.
art collection. And Trey was just like playing music furiously and called them all together. And it was like, oh my God, we're going to book 4 shows. They're going to call it the Island Tour. It's going to be so sick, guys. I'm going to prance around like a rooster. Yeah. who
I'm
knows?
gonna prance around like a rooster. I like that.
They had some extra
There's some extra
drugs.
stuff going.
Extra drugs too.
Maybe.
This jam at the beginning of set 2 is awesome. It's just Trey noodling like really pretty amazingly.
Yeah, more of
I
that.
think it's a great way to start it.
I really like what Paige does in the background while acknowledging you're absolutely right. This is all Trey. I love how at the end, as they're building up towards AC/DC Bag, Trey's like, Gary, you ready for us? Which you got to imagine, like, Gary was having a beer. They got up on stage. Trey was like, we're going to play again right now. And then they had to wait for the sound guy, make sure everything's good. Okay, here's a jam. And it's a really cool little jam.
Yeah, more of that, please.
More of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Bag is good.
Cool.
Bag's always good. Bag's kind of one of those songs that just sounds fully formed, kind of like what you were talking about with Golgi. Like, this is the AC/DC Bag we're going to get for the next 30 years, aside from some really cool jammed out versions in late 1.0 and 2.0. Swing Low.
Sweet Chariot.
Sweet Chariot.
Always fun.
13 total performances. This was its second ever. You guys recognizing a theme here.
Yeah.
12 performances in the 80s, and then a 632 show gap until, can anyone guess when the next version was? 632 shows?
Well, let's see. Carry the one. No, I don't know.
No.
11/16/1994.
Oh, of course.
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Oh,
Right in the
yeah.
Bluegrass
It was a
Tour.
bluegrass. It was bluegrass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right before I saw them for the first time.
Right before.
Well,
Um,
that one can stay on the shelf.
the fuck you got against Swing Low, Sweet Chariot?
Like
The fuck is
1,000
wrong
times
with
more
you?
interesting than Mustang Sally. God damn.
Ew.
Like, Jesus Christ. Just because you started this podcast doesn't mean we can't find a way to kick you out.
I
Kidding,
mean,
I don't think we can.
Do
it's
it.
got this haunting,
Do it.
haunting melody to
Bad
it.
opinions.
But,
Yeah, it's so great.
but, it really sounds like something awful is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like that is like, imagine them in a jam coming upon that the way that they did. What was the song they played on Holes Night? Oh, Holy Night. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's about the song's
Yeah.
about death, so it does kind of make sense.
Good point. Good point.
Love a good
Right.
song about
See,
that.
Yeah.
love that research that you bring here.
Yeah, that's what I do. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, guys. Second,
Peaches and Regalia.
second ever peaches.
Second.
Oh, one of my favorite covers.
Yeah,
Second.
great, amazing. But then they played the first Bowie. I think I told you guys. I heard my first peaches ever last year in Mexico.
That's crazy. I
crazy.
heard it at my first show.
I know. I think we've had this conversation.
Probably.
So I don't want to
Sounds
bring
familiar.
up. I don't want to bring up, negativity again. But
Oh.
two
Too
thoughts here. Peaches and Regalia versus Mustang Sally. The two directions that this band took based on, or the one direction this band took based on their cover choices. Mustang Sally was kind of used, cool. People know it, gets them in the door. Fun. We play some tepid blues rock, but then Peaches and Regalia, like an
It's fierce.
absolutely beautiful and mind-bending composition by one of their greatest influences that is in line with where the band is at from a songwriting standpoint, and is in line with kind of the zaniness and the unique creativity that is going to follow them. Like Peaches is not a song that any other band is covering. And if they are not doing it nearly as well as Fish is. And this is a song that's had significant gaps in between performances, tons of really cool bust outs. But here it is, some 40 shows into their career, and it just sounds like Fish playing a cover, but it sounds like a Fish song.
Does.
Yeah, there's some shaky versions if you go through the full Fish canon covers of Peaches, but at this point, they're hitting it pretty hard and they're doing it pretty well. And yeah, it is really an embodiment. Like this is the cover that matches their original sound.
I mean, I thought it was their song the first time I heard it at their show. I mean, I didn't know Frank
Same.
Zappa. You did? Yeah.
Noobs.
So I heard it in 94 and I was like, this is awesome. I didn't know.
I got a tape of 9/14/99, and the only thing that was told to me when it was given to me was, dude, Peaches comes back. And I was like, oh, sweet. I had no idea what they were talking about. And I listened, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's a Fish song. And then I played it for my dad because I was like, this is really cool. And he was like, yeah, it's Frank Zappa. It's like,
oh, okay. You know when they played this a lot? 96. I saw it 3 times in 96. That's crazy.
a lot of it.
I've never seen the song. I took 96 off, so here we are.
There
I
we
saw it
are.
once,
I
12/29.
can't wait till they play it at
16.
your next show, Jonathan.
Speaking of
next.
Jonathan,
Yeah, I want to hear all Jonathan's thoughts about this Bowie.
Oh, I don't have a lot. It's
Brian
slow.
does, so it's fine.
It's slow. It's like you can hear what
Mhm.
Bowie will be. It's not there. Like Page's part is not really there. Page is just really like chording along through the midsection, and it's it picks it up a little bit, but yeah, it's fine. It's a great place to start for what will become a kind of defining song for at least a portion of their career.
yeah, this is one of those songs that is going to, you can't have Fish without David Bowie, and without
Right.
what David Bowie is going to do for Fish for the next, at least the next 15 years. Since then, I mean, I think it hasn't reached the heights that we heard in the mid 90s, but I don't know. I mean,
Coming back.
you hear a band that, yeah, I hope, a year prior could not have played this song,
Right.
and plays it here not nearly as well as they will within the year. 1987 has some stunning versions of David Bowie, but it's the foundation of where they're going to go. And just hearing that at this point, it's worthwhile to go back and listen to these versions of these songs and these shows where they came out of, because it's so unassuming.
It really is magical to hear a song like this and hear it the first time it's ever played, and imagine them like presenting that to the public for the first time and know what it becomes. It's, yeah, broken record here tonight, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Trey's soloing is pretty amazing for a first version. They were clearly
Yes.
Mhm.
ready to rock.
He is.
Yeah, he goes
These are
off.
clearly his songs,
Yeah, you can tell.
you know,
Yeah.
and the rest of the band is going to catch up, but they're clearly his songs that he has the vision of where this is going to take us.
Have Mercy. Have Mercy is this pretty song that I really like, and I want to
Me too.
say I first saw it in 2016 in Vegas, and in the middle of a Harry Hood, and I was so ecstatic to see it because
Yeah.
it had just been kind of out there for so many years, and they hadn't played it for 5 years. And before that, they played it I think they'd played it like 3 times in 3.0 before that show. And then 99 before that, 94 before that. a few times in '93, and then not after this. They don't play it again until the Roxy '93, and
Wow.
it's so great, so great. And
Yeah,
that's
the
all,
song's only
and
been
longer
played.
than this David Bowie, actually worth noting.
It's beautiful too. It gets
Yeah.
to like a really gorgeous, like delicate and quiet space. It's like really pretty. I actually loved this part of the show. The song's only been played 17 times and it's special to hear. And they opened up with it in Charlotte in 2019. And it's the first time it opened a show. And it was like a hot summer day. I was there with a bunch of my friends and it opened up the show and we were all just like, yes. And that show just ended up having just great vibes. But it's just, I've seen it again in Raleigh too, but it's a Southern thing for me, I think. But this song is, I love when they play it. And this is a gorgeous version. Like Trey and Paige have a lot of like amazing interplay during this version too. It's great.
I did not realize until you just said that this was the last version until the Roxy. That's so crazy. I'm looking
I
at the
didn't know that
breakdown of it
either.
here. And this is another one of those songs that, like, I don't know if I mentioned this. Maybe we talked about this on a previous podcast. I probably said something like this before, but like, the huge what if of what happens if the band doesn't get back together in 2009. And like a song like Have Mercy is just kind of like a randomly played song in weird parts of their career. Whereas now, like you think about that Charlotte show you talked about, I saw it open the second set of Double Chocolate Night. It was played in Mexico. Like, it's just one of those songs that like they can get to that beautiful space that the song is in, and it's for everyone. It's a check off of the stat for them to hear this song, but it also just like works really, really nicely. And this is a beautiful version. It reminds me a lot of the Makasupa Policemen's that we'll hear in 1987, one of the jamming highlights of that year. We get some guest vocals for the second time this show. Ja Roy comes in and sings in the jamming segment of Have Mercy. As Michael Myers noted, there's a great version from Utica 2010 that goes into a jam as well.
Yep.
This is a very special Fish song that there are certain songs that the band has properly dropped throughout different eras of their career while also keeping it incredibly rare, and Have Mercy is one of them.
It's fun.
Reverence.
Love it. Yeah, the rest of the show is fine, but the Bowie is really where it's at here, right? Is that right? I mean, there's other stuff, but
I mean, the Hood peak is great. Trey seems like super confident during Hood. It's beautiful.
Well, and last week we talked about 1 year and 1 day prior, they debut Harry Hood. That's the whole reason we did 10/30/85. We're now a year later. The song has evolved. We actually have the segments of music up until the Bliss segment. The jam sounds stunning. Sanity sounds almost melodic. This is the theme continues. Second ever Skin It Back. When was the first one? 10/15/86. There have been 12 Skin It Backs since.
Me too.
Crazy. 12 since. We talk about so many songs that are like debuted in these shows that then go on to become foundational Fish songs. There's also these like diverting areas for where the band's going to go.
Jonathan, we saw that one time, or I've seen it one time, and that was the double encore night at Hampton 2018.
In Hampton? Yeah. That was the last time they played it, right?
I think so. It's the only time I've seen it. Yeah.
They played it, but I think that was the sound check, wasn't it? Yeah. So it doesn't really count.
Doesn't count, right?
No. Can't count it towards your stats.
I heard it there.
Iculus, in a plot twist, it is the second version ever, but the first version was on 4/1/86.
Yeah, not 10/15.
Where we learn that Iculus was born in ancient Greece in the year 1948.
On Halloween.
To Jonathan's point, 38 years later.
38 years later. Yeah. Crazy.
I had a question for you guys. Can we still ask questions on this show? Is that possible?
Brian, you can
that's not actually.
That's the answer.
That's not actually an option. Pick one song from this show to make a return in 2023. I'm going to give you 4 options, okay? And if you answer option number 1, Mustang Sally, Melt the Guns, Back Porch Boogie Blues, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Back Porch Boogie Blues.
Melt the Guns.
Melt the
RJ's having
Guns.
a hard time with this. Oh, there he goes.
I'm going Melt the Guns as well, but my backup is Back Porch Boogie Blues.
My backup smelled the gun, so we're all in
My
agreement
backup
somewhere.
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
That's my third option.
No
have a
option for
fourth.
Mustang Sally.
Great song.
Can I ask another question? I have more questions. I
Mhm.
come prepared with questions for y'all.
We like your
Alright.
questions.
So thank you. So listening to this show and listening to the second set, and RJ just kind of said it, like, the rest of the show is okay. This show has a structural element to it that reminds me of a lot of what we're going to hear basically for the next 9-10 years.
Mhm.
Not a ton of flow. There's more focus on segments of rock music, segments of comedies, segments of composition. What are your thoughts on this approach to set listing versus what we would get from like 97 through 2.0 and late 3.0? Do you guys enjoy this as much? Do you not? Do you find it more purposeful? Like what do you guys hear from this set listing approach versus what we would get as the clock turned to like 1997 and onward?
I have
I think
thoughts
it's
on
really
this.
hard to compare them because they're just such a fully formed band in the late 90s, you know? I think it's like hard to compare a band that's a few years old to a band that's been around for 10, 12 years. Like they're experts by then. So of course, Trey was like a master at creating set lists by the late 90s because he'd spent how long doing it and obsessing over it. So I think this is a band that's still thinking about like constantly introducing new material. What can we play? What can all the members of the band play? Teaching them all these challenging songs. Like, I think it's just challenging to compare. And that's my daughter burning dinner. Hold on.
It's funny that you asked this actually, because I agree with Megan. I think, into the 90s and they had developed flow and really great control over a set list and what it could do for a show. But also in 3.0, sets like this kind of come back. It's different songs, but
You're totally right.
this is
Like early 3.0.
absolutely what people nowadays refer to as like Trey DHD. It's like it's a little bit
Recital
all over the
shows, that type of
place.
thing, yeah.
It's well, let's just throw some songs out there and see what sticks. Which is that's what any young bar band is doing as early in their career as Fish was in '86. So, and sometimes that still comes back. I don't think it's quite the same, but yeah, that's what it reminds me of, some of those 3.0 shows.
Yeah, I don't know. It's too complicated for me.
Well then,
Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, do you have more to add?
I mean, I think it's a functional element. I agree with you guys. Like, it's hard to compare just because of how much they're going to grow over the next 10 years. But it's wild to me that this is. You can hear in certain moments that they were becoming really quality improvisers. And we heard a little bit of it in the first 3 shows we discussed in this series. We're going to hear a lot more of it, especially in 87 or 88, depending on what shows we discuss. But then they kind of abandon that. And this model is what goes forward, where it's not so much about let's reserve a segment for jamming and see what comes out of jamming. It's we're going to really constrain what's possible within the show to give you as much diversity of music as possible. And it's just it's interesting that was the approach for so long as they grew, and then they abandoned that. And then they came back to it out of necessity in early 3.0 when the focus was let's actually play these songs right, because a lot of them are pretty good. Jamming kind of goes out the window. And then as they evolved and they get more comfortable in 3.0, the sets start to feel like full, complete pieces. And it's one of the things I've always admired about Fish is that approach had to have taken so much control. Like, you have this hyper talented guitarist, you have a band that is inspired by improvisational artists in the past knows that they can do it, but they're going to constrict themselves to make every show almost be kind of an extension of practice.
Yeah, that's
my
so
thought.
interesting to think about.
It's just, it seems like an intentional choice that they made at some
Yeah.
point.
I mean, they were disciplined, right? Really, really
Right.
disciplined.
Can I ask one more question?
Please.
Yes.
So this is the first Halloween show. First ever. I don't know if we're going to talk about
No.
another Halloween show in this series,
kidding.
but this is the first ever.
Hmm.
What about the show, if anything, do you think sets the tone for the band doing Halloween going forward?
Sanity. Nothing really.
Yeah.
It's just a show. I think it may be, fun 2-act show, seemingly special to the campus environment itself. But beyond that, it's taking just Fish as it is. It's just a show. It's a good show. Just a show.
Just a show.
Yes. I kind of agree with Jonathan. Sorry, Brian.
Just a show. I actually agree with you guys. I just wanted to hear if you guys heard anything.
I think it's too early to I think they were just playing a show and they were like, figured it out later. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it like the first Worcester show, that Halloween, that's like the big one that I think that one is kind of the one that becomes like Halloween becomes something, right? I have
Well,
a
you
bad
get
memory.
they play
That's years ahead,
Halloween
yeah.
next year, and then they do Glens Fall, or they do a couple Colorado Halloweens that are they're nowhere
Yep.
near. They're not covering
Mhm.
albums. They're not playing 3 sets.
Yeah.
It's about 10 years away, or 8 years away from really taking that next step. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just curious listening to this if you guys heard anything. But
Yeah, it's a good question, but I think I think it's like a little early. But we're gonna find out as we keep going through because we're gonna be there soon. We're gonna be there soon, everybody.
This is so
we are
fun.
moving onward.
We're
Mhm.
moving onward.
87.
87 next week. 87 is an important year for a lot of reasons, which we can't discuss now. So you'll have to tune in next week to find out why. Thank you guys. That was fun.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Joe.